She thought she was a little girl again, and in her last moments, she just wanted to go home. That's how it begins, my dear ones, with a sentence that carries both heartbreak and grace. You see, when someone stands at the edge between this world and the next, their heart remembers where it all began. They don't call for things, they call for love. Her name was Rose, a kind soul who had spent her whole life taking care of others. Children, neighbors, even stray cats that wandered too far from home. But in her 91st year, when her body grew tired and her mind grew hazy, something strange began to happen. She stopped asking about her medicine or the time and started asking for her mother. "Mama, is supper ready yet? Don't let me go alone." Her granddaughter Lily sat beside her, holding her frail hands that once baked cookies and wiped tears. And when Rose looked at Lily, she didn't see a grown woman. She saw her childhood self, scared, waiting for her parents to come get her. And that's when Lily said something that would change everything. She leaned close and whispered, "They're waiting for you, Grandma. Mom's making your favorite soup, and your dad's got your old piano ready." Rose smiled. For the first time in days, she smiled. She looked up like she could see him, and then she said softly, "Okay then." 10 minutes later, she was gone. Now, my sweet ones, I know what you're thinking. Was it a lie or was it love? That's what Lily keeps asking herself, sitting in that quiet house with the empty chair and the folded blanket no one's touched since. She wonders if her words were wrong, if she tricked her grandmother in her final breath. But let me tell you something my own mama once told me when I was young and didn't understand death. The truth isn't always about facts, Clara. Sometimes it's about peace. There's a kind of truth that lives in comfort, the kind that lets a soul rest. Rose didn't need medicine or reason in that moment. She needed home. She needed someone to tell her it was safe to go. And that's what Lily gave her, a homecoming. Now, before I tell you the rest of this story, I want to ask you something, my darlings listening out there. Have you ever had to comfort someone with words you weren't sure were right? Have you ever told a gentle lie because the truth was too sharp to hold? If you have, then you understand Lily. You understand the trembling of her heart, the way her voice cracked when she said those words. You understand the ache of love that comes with watching someone slip away and wishing you could follow just to make sure they're not afraid. You know, when I was a little girl, my grandmother, she was a fierce old thing, used to tell me, "Heaven doesn't ask for perfection, Clara. It asks for love." That's what Rose's story reminded me of, that no matter how lost the mind becomes, the heart still knows its way home. You wouldn't believe how many people write me letters about moments like this, moments at the bedside where love and truth tangle up together. Some say, "I told my husband he could rest now, even though I didn't want him to." Others say, "I told my mama that her garden would bloom again in spring." And maybe we all tell these small holy lies so the ones we love can find their way back to peace. So tonight, as we sit here together, maybe you're folding laundry, maybe you're driving home, maybe you're just holding your own heart a little tighter. I want to tell you something. This story isn't just about death. It's about permission. It's about telling someone, "You've done enough. You can rest now." Because sometimes the bravest love we can give is the love that lets go. I want you to remember Rose not as a woman who forgot who she was, but as a little girl who finally found her way home. Now, before we begin the deeper part of her story, before I tell you about the night before she passed and the secret Lily never told anyone, I want to thank the one who shared this story online. If you're listening tonight, dear one, I hope you know your words help someone else breathe easier. Sometimes the peace we give others is the peace we finally learn to give ourselves. So, take a deep breath, hold your heart, and if you've lost someone, whisper their name now. Tell them they're safe. Tell them you'll be okay. Because healing begins in those whispers. Now, watch last week's story if you haven't. We talked about the woman who forgave her father after 40 years of silence. And next week, we'll talk about what happens when love outlives memory. But tonight, my dear ones, we begin with Rose and the night she forgot her age but remembered her home.
You know, when Rose was a little girl, she had this window, an old creaky one that faced the dirt road in front of her family's farmhouse. Every evening, after supper, she'd climb up on the wooden chair and press her tiny nose against the glass, waiting for her father to come home from work. She'd wait until the shadows got long and the fireflies began their dance, whispering, "He's coming, Mama. I can feel it." But some nights, he didn't. The rain would come first, or the wind, and her mama would pull her away from the window, saying softly, "He'll be home tomorrow, sweetheart. Don't worry." And that's how waiting became part of Rose's life. She grew up learning that love comes in waiting. Waiting for a father who worked too hard. Waiting for a mother who worried too much. Waiting for someone to hold her when the storms came and the windows rattled. Even as a young woman, Rose never stopped looking out that window, only the faces changed. Sometimes she waited for a friend to call. Sometimes for her husband to come home from the war. Sometimes for the sound of her children's feet coming down the hall at Christmas. And maybe that's why, when the years piled up and her body grew tired, the first thing her heart remembered wasn't her age. It was that window, that feeling of being small, afraid, and waiting for someone to open the door and say, "You're not alone anymore." You see, memory is a funny thing, my dear ones. It doesn't always fade in order. It fades in emotion. The mind forgets names, dates, places, but it never forgets how love felt. When Rose started slipping, when her mind began wandering between the past and the present, she didn't go to some random time. She went back to where love began, to her mother's kitchen, to her father's hands, to that piano her daddy built from scraps and tuned by ear. She remembered being safe. And when she couldn't find that safety in the hospital lights or the strange faces around her, she did what she'd always done. She waited. You know, the first time Lily saw her grandmother call out for her parents, she didn't understand. She said, "Grandma, it's me, Lily, your granddaughter." But Rose just smiled faintly and said, "You have her eyes, my mama's eyes." Lily didn't correct her after that. She realized sometimes truth isn't about fixing confusion, it's about joining it. So she held Rose's hand and said, "She's making your soup, Grandma." And right then, something changed. Rose's breathing slowed, her shoulders softened, the fear left her eyes. You know what that moment reminded me of? When I was 10, I had a canary, bright yellow little thing named Daisy. One morning, I found her on the bottom of her cage, breathing fast, trembling. I panicked, ran to my mama, but she just knelt beside me and said, "Hold her. Tell her she's home." And I did, and Daisy stopped trembling. Sometimes that's all a soul needs, is to be told they're home. Rose needed that too. Now, I know what some people might say. She didn't really go home, she died. But listen to me, sweet ones. To someone like Rose, someone who's lived long, loved deep, and carried decades of waiting, Death isn't leaving, it's arriving. When Lily told her, "They're waiting for you, Grandma," she wasn't lying. She was opening the door. I imagine in those last few minutes, Rose saw more than we could ever understand. Maybe she saw her mother standing by the stove, apron dusted with flour. Maybe she heard her laughter echoing through the old house. Maybe she smelled the soup, the one she used to love, with lentils and thyme, simmering just for her. And maybe she realized the waiting was finally over. There's a quiet grace in that moment when the heart decides it's safe to rest. We think death is something that happens to us, but maybe it's something we choose when love calls us home. I believe Rose chose peace, not because someone convinced her, but because Lily's words reminded her that peace was possible. Now, my dear listeners, before I tell you what happened the night before she passed, I want you to think of someone you've lost. Close your eyes if you can. Picture them sitting somewhere warm, smiling, waiting for you to say, "It's okay, I'm all right now." That's what Rose's story teaches us, that love doesn't end. It just changes its address. So tonight, if you've been waiting for a sign, waiting for peace, waiting to stop hurting, maybe this is your sign. Peace isn't something that finds you when the pain is gone. Peace begins the moment you stop waiting for the pain to leave. That's what Rose learned. That's what Lily gave her. And that's what I hope you'll remember tonight. Now, tomorrow would have been Rose's 92nd birthday. And the night before she passed, something happened. Something Lily never shared online. A dream, a voice, a promise. We'll talk about that next. But for now, my darlings, hold this truth close. The heart always remembers the way home.
The night before Rose passed, the house was quiet. Too quiet. Lily had dozed off in the armchair beside her bed. That kind of sleep where your eyes are closed, but your heart stays awake. Outside, rain was tapping on the window, the same way it had when Rose was a little girl waiting for her father. And somewhere between the rhythm of the rain and the rise of her grandmother's breath, Lily heard something. A whisper. Not words, not at first. Just the soft hum of someone speaking to someone else. She sat up, rubbed her eyes, and realized it was Rose. Her lips were moving, barely. "Mama? Don't cry, Mama. I'm not scared." And then, "I'll bring the soup this time." Grandma Clara lets out a gentle sigh, like her own heart's caught in her throat. When Lily told me that part, she said her chest ached, because that was the first time in days that Rose sounded sure, not confused, not scared, just sure. My dear ones, that's the thing about the soul. It knows before we do. It knows when the road home is ready. It knows when the ache in our bones isn't sickness anymore. It's memory calling us back. That night, Rose wasn't dying. She was remembering. Now listen to me carefully. When someone you love starts speaking to people who aren't here, don't be afraid. Don't try to correct them. Don't say they're gone. Because maybe, just maybe, they're not gone at all. Maybe they've come to walk that last mile with the one they love. Maybe the ones we lose never really leave. They just stand a little closer to heaven's edge than we can see. I've seen it before, you know. When my own husband was passing, he kept looking at the corner of the room and smiling. I asked, "Who are you smiling at, Thomas?" He said, "Your mama's standing there. She's been waiting on me since supper time." And I laughed, through tears, mind you, because that was just like him, always late to dinner. But that night, the night Rose spoke to her mother in her sleep, something happened to Lily too. When she leaned in and heard her grandmother's dream, she said it felt like a hand resting on her shoulder. She couldn't explain it, couldn't see it, but she felt it. A warmth, a calm, like grief itself had taken one deep breath and finally let go. And in that moment, she realized something powerful. Death doesn't take people from us. It just takes their pain. If you're listening right now, sweetheart, and you've lost someone, if your nights still ache where their voice used to be, then I want you to do something for me. Don't fight the memory. Don't shut the door on it. Sit with it. Let it speak. Maybe your loved one isn't gone. Maybe they're sitting right beside you, just quiet enough for your heart to feel them, but not your ears to hear them. And maybe, like Rose, they're still whispering, "Don't cry. I'm not scared." You see, grief is a strange teacher. It walks you to the same window, makes you look out, and says, "Wait. Wait for peace. Wait for the ache to soften. Wait for the day when you can say their name and smile instead of break." And one day, you do. One day you'll look out that window and realize the waiting's over. That's what happened to Lily. The morning after Rose passed, the sunlight poured into her room. The rain was gone. The window, the same one she used to stare out as a child, was open just a crack. And on the sill, there was a single white feather. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Coincidence? Maybe. But I've lived long enough to know that heaven doesn't send text messages, my loves. It sends gentle things. A feather. A song. A smell of soup from a kitchen that's been closed for years. And when you see those things, don't doubt them. Don't say, "It's just my imagination." Because imagination, my dear ones, is where heaven likes to whisper. So, the next time you dream of someone you've lost, don't wake up crying. Stay a moment longer. Listen. Maybe they're not gone. Maybe they're reminding you that love is the one language even death can't silence. Now, I know this story hurts a little. It's okay if it does. That's how you know it's real. Because love that deep, it always leaves a mark. And maybe that mark isn't a scar. Maybe it's a doorway. The same one Rose walked through that night, barefoot, child again, whispering to her mother that she wasn't scared anymore. And my, what a beautiful way to leave this world. Now, I want to ask you something, darling listener. Who would you call for if your mind forgot the world but remembered love? Who would you ask for in your last moments? Whoever you thought of just now, that's your heart's home. Keep them with you, not in your grief, but in your gratitude, because they're already waiting, not somewhere far away, but in the quiet corners of your peace. That night, the dream, the whisper, the feather. It wasn't about death. It was a reminder that love doesn't need a heartbeat to exist. It just needs remembering. So, if tonight you sit alone, missing someone, open your window just a little. Let the air move. Let heaven send you something small and gentle, a reminder that you're not waiting alone anymore, because neither was Rose. Now, next I'll tell you what Lily found the morning after Rose passed, a note her grandmother had written months before she forgot everything, a note that changed how Lily saw the word goodbye forever. Stay with me, I'll whisper, because this is where healing truly begins.
You see, my dear, when we grow old, our minds start peeling away like old wallpaper. The years fall off, one by one, until all that's left is the room where it began. Childhood. That's what happened to Rose. She was 91, small and fragile like the lace curtains she used to sew. Her hands trembled even when holding something as light as air. But her voice still carried the warmth of summers long gone. In her last days, Rose forgot the calendar. She forgot her age. And in a way, she forgot death. It began on a quiet Tuesday morning when her granddaughter Lily came to visit. Rose was sitting by the window, humming a lullaby no one remembered anymore. Lily smiled and said, "Grandma, you look beautiful today." But Rose turned, her eyes wide and lost. "Where's Mama?" she asked softly. "I can't find my shoes. I have to go to school before Papa gets cross." That was the first time Lily realized her grandmother had slipped back into her little girl world. And oh, child, how that breaks a heart. To watch someone you love drift away, not into darkness, but into innocence. Lily tried to smile through it. "Mama's in the kitchen, Grandma. Don't worry." Rose nodded, comforted by the lie, or maybe the mercy inside it. She looked out the window again and whispered, "Do you think Mama made soup today? The one with the carrots and the smell that fills the whole house?" Lily swallowed her tears. "Yes, Grandma, she made your favorite." And that's when Rose's eyes softened, her shoulders loosened. For a brief moment, peace replaced the panic. That's the power of a single comforting word, my dear. Sometimes truth heals. Other times, kindness does. Days passed like that. Rose calling for her parents, asking where her dolls were, wondering if her father had come home from the factory yet. Each time, Lily answered gently, never correcting her, never reminding her of the cruel arithmetic of time. Because what good would that do? Why tear open the wound of memory when comfort can close it gently? But there was one night, that night, when everything changed. It was raining softly, the kind of rain that sounds like the earth breathing. Lily sat beside her, reading softly from a book of old poems. Rose stirred, her frail hand twitching under the blanket. "Lily," she murmured, "it's dark. Can you turn the light on? I don't like sleeping alone." Lily squeezed her hand. "You're not alone, Grandma. I'm right here." But Rose shook her head. "No, no, my mama promised she'd come back before bed. She always does." Lily didn't know what to say. She wanted to tell her grandmother the truth, that Mama had been gone for over 70 years. But then she saw it, the fear in those eyes, that lost child fear no old woman should ever feel. So she leaned close and whispered,
"She's on her way, Grandma. She's just warming up your soup." And something miraculous happened. Rose smiled, not as a 91-year-old woman, but as a 6-year-old girl who finally felt safe again. That smile stayed until morning. When the doctor came, he said it would be soon, the kind of soon that makes the air heavy and the walls still. Rose had stopped eating. She slept most of the day, sometimes whispering to people only she could see. Once, Lily heard her giggle. "Papa, you brought my ribbon. I knew you'd remember." And that, my dear, is when Lily began to understand. Sometimes the ones we lose never really leave. They just wait, quietly, until we're ready to come home. That evening, when Rose opened her eyes again, she looked straight at Lily and said, "I don't want to go alone." Lily's heart cracked open like thunder. She held her grandmother's hand and said the only thing that came to her heart. "They're waiting for you, Grandma. Your mom's making your favorite soup. Your dad's got your old piano ready." Rose smiled, looked upward, whispered, "Okay then." And just like that, she went home. Not alone. Never alone. Because love, my dear, always finds its way across time. Even when the mind forgets, the soul remembers.
Sometimes, my dear, when I think about Lily and Rose, I feel a stirring inside me, a question older than time itself. Is it wrong to lie if the lie is love? You see, the world likes its truths clean and sharp, but the heart lives in softer shades. When Rose asked about her parents, Lily could have told her, "They're gone, Grandma." But what good would that have done? To drag a 91-year-old soul back into grief she'd already survived once? No, my child. Sometimes the truth is a cold wind, and mercy means closing the window. Let me tell you something the years have taught me. When someone you love is drifting away, don't pull them back. Walk with them instead. Step into their dream. Speak their language. Meet them where their mind has gone. Because comfort isn't always in the words we say. It's in the tone, the presence, the stillness that tells them, "You are safe here." I remember when my own sister was leaving this world. She forgot my name near the end, called me Mama instead. For a moment, I wanted to correct her, but then I saw her smile and I thought, let her keep the comfort. So I answered, "I'm here, baby." And she went peacefully. That's what Lily did for Rose. She became her mother, her safety, her childhood promise. And that, my dear listeners, is love at its highest form, the kind that gives up being right just to be kind. Now, I want you to think, really think, about someone you've loved and maybe lost. Maybe they're still here, but fading in little ways, forgetting birthdays, asking the same question twice, staring at old photos like they can step inside them. Don't correct them. Don't remind them of what hurts. Meet them where the memory is warmest. Hold their hand in that memory. Let the comfort be the truth. You know, in all my years, I've learned healing doesn't come from fighting time. It comes from forgiving it. We spend so much of our lives afraid of forgetting, afraid of letting go, when sometimes forgetting is the only mercy left. Rose's story reminds us that acceptance isn't giving up, it's giving in. It's whispering, "Okay then," when life says, "It's time." So, my dear ones,
If you've ever sat beside someone you love and watched them fade, know this: you did enough. Your love was enough. And if you lied to keep them calm, that lie was holy. Now, take a deep breath. Hold it. Let it go. That's what healing sounds like. I can almost hear Rose humming again, that old lullaby, the one that carried her back home. And I can see Lily sitting by the window now, a little older, a little softer, whispering to herself, she wasn't alone. That, my dear, is how grief turns into gratitude. Not by forgetting them, but by remembering their peace more than their pain.
There's a kind of silence that follows death. Not the loud one that fills the house with sobs and casseroles and whispered condolences. No, I mean the quiet that comes after. When the visitors leave and the world keeps moving, but your heart doesn't. That's the silence Lily met the morning after Rose passed. She sat by the empty bed, the one that still smelled faintly of lavender and soap. The sunlight crept across the quilt, tracing the outline where Rose's hands once rested. And in that stillness, Lily realized something. Peace doesn't arrive all at once. It seeps in, slow, steady, like sunlight after a storm. For days, she replayed that last conversation. Rose's small voice saying, I don't want to go alone. Her own words. They're waiting for you, Grandma. And the way Rose smiled, as if she could really see them. At first, Lily wondered if she'd done wrong, if she told a lie too sweet to be forgiven. But one night, she dreamed of Rose again. In the dream, her grandmother looked young, not the frail woman from her final days, but vibrant, glowing, hair pinned up just so. She was sitting at an old piano, playing the same melody she used to hum while cooking soup. And when Lily whispered, "Was it okay, Grandma?" Rose smiled and said, "Child, love can never be wrong." That's when Lily understood. What she gave wasn't a lie. It was a bridge between fear and peace, between holding on and letting go. You see, my dears, when someone you love leaves this world, you don't lose them all at once. You lose them in small moments. The empty chair, the phone call you forget you can't make, the instinct to save them a plate. But you find them again too, in smells that linger, in songs that echo, in the way your own hands start to look like theirs when you reach for a cup of tea. That's the secret most people never learn. Grief isn't the end of love. It's proof of it. And oh, how we fight it. We try to busy ourselves, distract ourselves, pretend we're moving on. But healing isn't about moving on. It's about moving forward with them beside you, invisible but present, quiet but real. So tonight, if someone out there is listening, maybe you've lost a mother, a grandmother, or a friend who felt like one, I want you to do something for me. Light a candle. Sit in the stillness and whisper to them, you're not alone. Because maybe, just maybe, they'll whisper back, neither are you. I've seen a lot of people pass in my time, but the ones who left with peace in their hearts, they had one thing in common. Someone loved them enough to let them go gently. That's the mercy we're here to learn. Not how to hold tighter, but how to release with grace. And to those carrying guilt for the things unsaid, the truths softened, or the lies told to comfort, forgive yourself. That was love too. The world tells us love should be perfect, but the kind that saves people, the real kind, is messy, trembling, and quiet. It holds hands through fear and still chooses kindness. That's the legacy Rose left behind. Not a lie, not a story, but a lesson. When it's someone's time to go, make sure their last words are wrapped in peace, not pain.
So, my dear listener, if your heart aches tonight, remember Lily, remember Rose, and remember this. Even when the body leaves, love stays behind, waiting, gentle as a lullaby. Now close your eyes. Breathe. Let it be okay.